You think you are above it all. You scroll past the drama. You do not watch reality television. You tell people you do not have time for nonsense. But here is what you will not admit. You are still watching. You are watching someone else watch. You are discussing the people who discuss the show. You are commenting on the commenters. You built a seat on the second floor of the same circus tent and called it elevation or evolution. And that is not resistance. That is a costume. Real high-value people do not need to announce their distance from the noise. They are already gone. You are still standing at the exit, making eye contact with everyone leaving, waiting for applause. That is not strength. That is a performance dressed up as principle. Karen Horney called this the tyranny of the should. You should be unshakable. You should be above it. You should have figured this out by now. So you perform the version of yourself that has it all figured out without actually having solved a thing. Erich Fromm would recognize you immediately. In Escape from Freedom, he mapped this exact mechanism. When real freedom becomes too heavy, too lonely, too structureless, human beings do not run toward it. They build an automaton conformity. They become a mirror of whatever their tribe approves of. It just so happens that your tribe is the anti-circus crowd, which means the circus still owns you. It just flipped the sign on the tent. Generation X watched their parents chase the American dream and ended up ironic and detached. Millennials watched Generation X and called that detachment authenticity. Now everyone is performing a kind of knowing exhaustion, too smart to care, too tired to try, too aware to be fooled. But Fromm's point was brutal. Escaping into awareness is still escaping. You did not transcend the noise. You just gave your cage a new name. The Maslow revelation. Here is what that costs you. Abraham Maslow spent the last decade of his life obsessed not with what broke people, but with what prevented healthy people from growing. He called these metapathologies. It is not an illness, it is not trauma, it is just the slow amputation of your highest capacities. Metapathologies do not feel like pain. They feel like conformity. They feel like a life that is fine, comfortable, safe, reasonable. They feel like filling your days with content about other people's lives because the alternative, building something real from your own, is terrifying. Maslow also identified what he called the Jonah Complex. Not the fear of failure, the fear of greatness. The whale in the biblical passage is not the villain. The whale is the rescue. Jonah ran from his calling. The belly of the beast was where he went to hide from what he already knew he was supposed to be. Most people live inside the whale and call it being realistic. Bread and circuses, the dopamine loop, the manufactured outrage, the algorithmic drama, none of that is a distraction from your real life. It is a substitution for it. You are feeding a hunger that was meant to drive you somewhere with food that goes nowhere. You are not numb. You are malnourished at the level of meaning. And the tragedy is, you know it, and you do not want to change. This is the specific cruelty of the Jonah Complex. You already know. Awareness does not liberate you. It just makes the comfort more expensive and the compromise more elaborate. High-value people, the real ones, not the LinkedIn version, are not immune to this pull. They have just made a different choice about what to do when the attraction of the circus appears. The Frankl Paradox. Viktor Frankl survived not one, but 4 Nazi concentration camps. He did not come out of there preaching happiness, he came out preaching meaning. His core idea, logotherapy, is almost offensive in its simplicity. Human beings can endure almost any how if they have a strong enough why. But here is the part the self-help industry always cuts. The why is not comfortable. It does not make you feel good. It makes you feel necessary. It makes you feel called, and that calling will cost you things: relationships, approval, safety. That the circus was designed to help you forget you were sacrificing. Fight Club understood this before it became a meme. Tyler Durden was not selling nihilism. He was selling the terror of being real, the chemical burn on the hand, the sensation of it, the refusal to look away. That scene is not about pain. It is about choosing presence over anesthesia. Frankl would say, the meaning you need is already hidden inside your specific suffering, not generic suffering, yours. The particular weight of what you have been avoiding, the exact conversation you keep avoiding. The project you have been almost starting for 3 years. The noise is not the enemy. The noise is the symptom. The enemy is the decision you keep postponing. The series Succession built an entire story around this. Characters of extraordinary capability, living in extraordinary comfort, completely hollowed out. Not because they had too little, but because they refused to become anything that actually cost them something real. This is the paradox Frankl leaves you with. The authentic life is not a happy life, it is a full one. And full feels heavier than empty, especially at the beginning. The final ultimatum. So here it is. No tips, no structure, no 3 habits of highly effective people. Just a choice. You can stay at the base of the pyramid. It is warm there. There is food. There is company. There is always something to react to, something to signal about, something to perform detachment from. The circus needs an audience, and it needs the people who feel superior to the audience. You can play either role, both keep the tent standing, or you can climb. Not because the view is better, though it is, but because the climb itself is what you were built for, because the silence up there is not emptiness. It is the sound of a life with enough meaning that you no longer need the volume turned up to feel alive. High-value people do not resist the circus by ignoring it. They resist by being so occupied with something real that the circus becomes something distant they only hear about occasionally. That is what truly makes the circus irrelevant, not philosophically, literally, not rhetorically irrelevant. Irrelevant the same way a child's argument becomes irrelevant when your house is on fire. You have something burning. You know exactly what it is. The only question that has ever actually mattered, is whether you will keep performing detachment from the fire, or whether you will finally walk toward it. The tent is still open. The exit is right there. Which one are you actually choosing?